27M. Just looked through my 26F girlfriend's Snapchat. I woke up this morning and my girlfriend's phone was lying right in front of my face, and she was asleep and turned the other direction laying on her side. I had sensed things were a little off and I already had thoughts that something fishy was going on when her Snap score kept rising while she was taking a bath the other day. I also noticed before she went to take a bath, she grabbed something out of her drawer of toys and brought it into the bathroom. She thought I was asleep at this point, but I still had one eye open. I confronted her and asked what she got out of the drawer later in the day, and she claimed she had got her shorts out of there. Now I know she doesn't keep any clothes in there. Just some toys and some of her medicines. This led to this morning. Me having an absolute gut-wrenching feeling after unlocking her phone and opening Snapchat to look at her top friend, who we will call Sean. They had the setting turned on to where it would save every message, not just delete after 24 hours. It took me all of 3 seconds to realize that they have been sexting each other, sending videos and pictures back and forth of them masturbating and my GF, using different toys she has. A wave of sickness flooded over me and my mind was racing, thinking this could never happen because we are in a healthy relationship and never argue about a thing. After a minute or two of scrolling up through the messages, I felt sick to my stomach and locked her phone and got up out of bed. I am now writing this in the parking lot at work and I can't think of anyone to turn to for advice on how to handle this. From this post I'll be back home and have to face her in about 11 hours. What should I do? Too long did not read. Looked through GF's phone while she was still asleep and found out she's been sexting another guy on Snapchat for God knows how long because I couldn't bring myself to keep scrolling up. Only one thing to do, leave her. If she lives with you, when you get off work, simply tell her she needs to move out. If you live with her, start looking up places during work so you can move out ASAP. If you're already in, I would have screenshot it and set it as her lock screen. Dump the cunt. My heart breaks for you, man. You found out she's not a loyal woman. I'd be leaving her ass in the wind. Don't look for any answers. Remove yourself from the situation and know that she does not respect you. Cut her off and move on. It won't be easy, but that's what you have to do. It's time for her to go. You have one of two options. Either you accept that you do not deserve better than this woman and you live your life knowing that at any moment, she might be cheating on you with someone else because she doesn't respect you whatsoever. Or you decide for yourself that you would rather be single than be with a cheater, and that you do deserve better than her. Both choices will involve pain. But only one gives you the opportunity to find happiness again. Sucks, man. Worried about passing down my 22 female condition, but boyfriend, 23 male, wants kids. I haven't thought deeply about having kids as I'm still in my early 20s, but now I'm in a long-term relationship, nearly 2 years. I've been thinking about the future. My boyfriend already has a child but has said he definitely wants more kids, whereas I'm open to having them but also do not mind if it was just us and his daughter. I have a condition called Tourette's syndrome and recently found out the gene has a 50% chance of being passed to any future children, which was much higher than I thought. This doesn't mean that they'll get Tourette's if they have the gene, but it's more likely to develop. My boyfriend also has autism and used to have a tic disorder which took him years to overcome, which I'm not sure if it increases the chances of our future children having Tourette's. Even though having children together is something that would not happen for many years if at all, I'm worried if I should have them. I also don't know what would happen to my relationship if I changed my mind in the future because I don't want to risk passing the gene. If I choose to have a child and they do have Tourette's, me and my boyfriend would know how to support them and help them through it and wouldn't love them any different than if they didn't have TS. However, I think I would feel guilty and do not know if it's selfish because this condition can be hard to deal with as it's exhausting, mentally and physically draining. While my family understood and I have good friends, others didn't, and I have been bullied for having Tourette's when I was young. I don't know if it's right to potentially put a child through hardship like that. I don't know if I should discuss this with my boyfriend now rather than later, even though I'm still conflicted on what I want. Too long did not read. I don't know if I want kids now. I know I have 50% chance of passing my condition, Tourette's syndrome, down. If you don't feel like you can openly discuss anything with him, then I'm not sure you should be considering having kids with him. Open communication is key in all aspects of a healthy relationship. Would you guys consider adoption? I think you should voice your concerns early on, as that way you can learn more together when you are in a position to have kids and make an informed joint decision at that point. You can pay to have your eggs sent in and his sperm. They create the cells, test them for diseases, Send back only the ones that don't have the diseases to be implanted in uterus. It's about $25,000 last I checked. Depending on your insurance, you can do genetic testing prior to trying for children in the future. But I agree what communication is key, and you both need to transparent on all accounts. I personally would not encourage a person with Tourette's to have kids. Tourette's is a terrible curse to give a person. Add a parent with autism? That's double worse. Your kid is almost guaranteed to have a disorder. I find these kinds of decisions are not a one-time talk but an zero-end-going discussion over time. Keep the communication open. Let him know how you are feeling, what you are thinking next. That way everyone is in the loop. As someone with a genetic condition, I would say 1. You need to feel comfortable discussing the issue with your BF. If you can't, please take a step back and evaluate the relationship. 2. Before you even start trying for kids, see a genetic counselor. They can help you evaluate your risk for passing the gene on looking at both your and his genetic makeup. I really can't see that you can get the answer you need from here. This is a matter that you and your husband should talk to a qualified doctor about. That person should be able to give you the information you need. That person will give you what they think. However, it is still up to you what are going to do, but take that person's thoughts to heart. I wish you the best whatever you do. My friends keep insisting that my boyfriend is cheating because of our open relationship. I, a 24-year-old woman, have a boyfriend of 2 years, Dan. Our relationship is emotional as I'm asexual. I have no WNAT or need for sex, but Dan does, so I told him straight up that I would want an open relationship with him, and if he didn't want one he could leave anytime he wanted, as I wasn't going to force him into anything he doesn't want. Dan agreed and our relationships has been going well for the past 2 years. He gets his needs from his one-night stands and I fulfill his emotional ones. It sounds weird but it works, and while I don't do intimacy we do kiss, cuddle and snuggle together. I am a very affectionate person, so it's not like I'm depriving him of the affection he deserves. The problem ever since I started seeing Dan, my friends are always saying, "What if he's cheating on you? He's sleeping with other girls. What if he falls for one who gives him everything he wants since I won't sleep with him, and how I'm an idiot for having an open relationship." I told them that I appreciate their concerns, but I told them that if Dan did cheat I wouldn't care. It means he found someone who can give him what I can't, and I'd be willing to let him go. He's not a hostage. I love him, but I'm not so selfish as to keep him from his happiness. They also point out that I'm child-free. How am I gonna give Dan kids? Dan is also child-free. We both dislike the idea of kids. And I told them Dan doesn't want kids, so that wouldn't matter. Also, adoption's a thing. They just keep telling me that I'm making a huge mistake and that he's going to leave me or cheat like past boyfriends have had. I've never been hurt by them leaving. I know the risk of dating as a non-sexually active woman. How do I get them to understand that their comments are more hurtful than anything Dan could do? Boyfriends aren't always forever. I thought friends were supposed to be, but guess I was wrong about that too. Your friends need to mind their business. Not every couple is the same. If both of y'all are okay with this arrangement, then that's all that matters. You probably just need to tell them to shut the FCK up one good time. Be honest and tell them how it makes you feel. That's all you can do, really. As for people telling you to break up, fuck 'em. If your relationship works for you, their opinion is irrelevant. Sounds like they have an issue with what they can't understand, comprehend, which is you being asexual. Shit friends emo. Maybe your friends are just saying he's cheating because they could never imagine being in a relationship as communicative as yours appears to be? It's not the normal thing to have an open relationship in their perspective. And yet, he's not the normal boyfriend for being comfortable enough to have an asexual girlfriend. That's a point in his favor. If what you guys have together works, then your friends need to respect that. I think a lot of people get kind of, maybe confused? Or resentful when alternative to the norm lifestyles are successful. Like, I don't for a second understand swinging, it just doesn't compute for me. I'm always super suspicious of successful swinging relationships, or open relationships. Could also be jealousy, that your situation is something the majority of people don't understand, but it works for you and makes you both happy, and normal for a lot of people doesn't work out how they hope. Either let your friends know you don't want to talk about your relationship anymore, or just slowly distance yourself. They'll probably never understand because your situation wouldn't work for them. You tell them you are no longer open to their input on this. You have a relationship structure that works for you and their opinions aren't relevant. I wouldn't listen to them. You both agreed to an open relationship, that's all that matters. As long as you're both okay with that arrangement, and are happy, I don't see a problem. You tell them this. Word for word. Shut your fucking cock garages and mind your own damn business. I, 32F. Lost respect for my husband, 29M. I'm starting to realize that I don't have respect for my husband. He is constantly insecure about our relationship. He gets insecure that I don't want him around if I'm not jumping out of my shoes in excitement when he comes home, even though I give him a hug and tell him I missed him. He gets insecure about intimacy when we haven't had sex in a week, even though I've been on my period. He gets insecure if I give him affection because he thinks I do it out of obligation. I tell him I love him, I try to talk about his insecurities and work through them with him. I try to offer a podium to talk and understanding. But he continues to feel insecurities. Now I get pissed in our conversations, and I say exactly how I feel frustrated and why I need him to meet me halfway, and I get a mediocre response of, well, I need to process that. After the first conversation, sure, that's fine, please take the time to process. After the second, of course I'll clarify and help you understand. After the third, fourth, fifth, God knows how many conversations about the exact same thing in so many different ways. I'm at my wit's end. I hate stereotypes, but I can't help but resort to feeling like he needs to freaking man up. I am not in charge of his feelings. I do not wish to constantly monitor my communication so as to not make him feel insecure, and I certainly do not want to baby him through his feelings. I told him I need him to be direct with me, and what I get in return is, I need to process that, yet days or weeks later his insecurities inevitably pop up again, and we have the same conversation, and I point out that he is feeling the same insecurity, and he goes ahead with the deflection. Guys, I don't know what to do here. Has anyone had a similar experience? Insecurities and attachment issues need to be worked through in therapy, in my opinion. These are usually deeply rooted within us from childhood, even if we haven't experienced any significant trauma throughout our lifetime. Of course, nothing is changing in your relationship. You're both stuck in a loop of the same pattern. Couples therapy would be helpful too. He should get therapy. He needs to get into mental health counseling stat. I completely understand where you're coming from. That kind of attitude is extremely unattractive, and I can only imagine how emotionally draining trying to manage his emotions is. My advice is, stop doing it. He's an adult. You're not responsible for tiptoeing around his insecurities. At this point, constantly adjusting your behavior is actually making things worse, because you're enabling him. Stop it. Do whatever you were going to do, it's time for him to sink or swim. Has he ever given you a reason for why he feels so insecure? Having been in your husband's position, it can be a hard cycle to get out of. A friend times it is something unrelated to the relationship that is triggering this. Example. Work not going that well, making him not feel that great about himself, thus feeling like he isn't worthy in that relationship. Hearing the, I love you, sometimes falls on deaf ears when you don't love yourself at that moment. It is ultimately up to him to open up, communicate, and be vulnerable about it. My ex-husband did this a lot. It got super annoying. Like op would be PMSing or on my period, so not super affectionate. He would always want to know that I still found him attractive. The first few years I could deal, but it got me down a lot. I deal with my own issues and then had to add his to the mix was way too much. We are divorced now, but that was only a small part of the reason why. There is hope though. Just because my ex did it and we're divorced doesn't mean other people can't get through it. You can't change him, and you are wasting your time and degrading yourself to surrender to someone you don't respect.